Hello everyone and welcome back to Dungeons & Death Battles, the series where we search for the most lethal monster in all of Dungeons & Dragons. Rules are simple, it's arena combat, combatants start 30 feet from each other, there's no fleeing, and it's a battle to the death. And we are jumping into the semi-final round once again, this time with the Infernal Imp taking on the crafty Cockatrice, in what truly is a battle of the most tiny of titans. These combatants have both, of course, risen up through the ranks of the Dungeons & Death Battles Whelpweight League to make it through to the semi-finals, in which they will be battling for a spot in the final round of the Whelpweight League. As with the previous semi-final round, this will be a best-of-3 bout, with health, initiative, and conditions resetting upon the beginning of a new round. So without further ado, let's roll in for some initiative. We're going to kick off with the Imp with its +3 modifier. And that is straight into the corner with a 2 +3 for 5. Not the best roll in the world, so let's see if the Cockatrice can vault over that. Rolling in with its +1 modifier, and that is an 11 +1 for 12, which does mean the Cockatrice is getting to go first. Now the Cockatrice, of course, is going to use its strategy here, and it's going to attempt to petrify the Imp as quickly as possible. And so the Cockatrice is going to fly in using its 40-foot movement, getting into close combat there with the Imp, and it is going to go in for a bite attack. It is looking to be an AC of 13, and with its +3 modifier to hit, it is looking to roll a 10 or higher on the d20. Cockatrice rolling in, first attack of the combat, and that is a 9 +3 for 12, and that is not going to break through the Imp's defenses. But that does mean that the Imp is going to quickly retaliate, and it is going to come in with a sting attack. So with a +5 to this, it is looking to be a 6 on the d20. Much lower gateway of entry, and rolling in with an 8, it is certainly going to do so, with that +5 modifier making that roll up to a 13. So the Imp is going to be rolling in for some damage. Again, 1d4 +3 initially. It's going to be a 3 +3 for 6, so some decent damage right from the drop. But now, of course, that Cockatrice does need to make a DC 11 Constitution saving throw or be susceptible to a large amount of poison damage. So rolling in +1 to Constitution for the Cockatrice, and that is a 4 +1 for 5, not saving. So it is going to take the full brunt of 3d6 poison damage. Yeah, so rolling in. And that is 2 3s and a 4, adding up to 10 points of poison damage, totaling 16 damage total this round. That has been a nasty start for the Cockatrice. But thankfully for the avian terror, at least it isn't going to suffer from the poison condition, merely taking on that damage. But once again, we roll back round to the Cockatrice, which is still in with an opportunity here, and it's going to roll in with its bite attack once again, looking for a 10 on the d20. So coming in hot, and that is a 9 once again, which is going to leave it fall just short of what it was after, with that 9 +3, of course, only totaling 12, and that does mean that the Imp is going to be rolling back in once again with that sting attack. And what has it done? It's gone and rolled a 6, which does of course mean that it is just going to glance that armor class of 11, that +5 modifier, bringing it just in line with the Cockatrice. AC, which does mean we're going to be rolling in some more damage. That d4 coming in first, 1d4 +3, with a 2 +3 for 5. Cockatrice already looking pretty unwell from that one, with its DC 11 Constitution saving throw coming through next. And with a 7 +1 for 8, it is not going to stave off that poison damage, and is once again going to be taking the full brunt of the Imp's sting attack. And this time, an incredibly high roll there, with a 15 on the dice total, which is going to absolutely tear through the Cockatrice's remaining hit points. Which does mean at the end of the round, it does become 1-0 to the Imp. But of course, as we said at the start, this is a best-of-3, so we are going to roll back round to the very top, resetting the hit points, bringing everybody back to full health. So without further ado, let's roll in for some initiative once more. Victor of the last round, the Imp is going to roll in first. So coming once again in with that d20 with its +3 to the initiative. That is a 5 +3 for 8. Again, not a stellar roll by any means, but let's see if the Cockatrice can do any better. It certainly needs to. So rolling in +1 to the initiative modifier. And that is going to be an 18 +1 for 19. So the Cockatrice is going to at least secure first in initiative for round 2. And so once again, the Cockatrice is just going to fly straight towards that Imp, looking to get a bite attack off. And it is going to roll in once again. It's got to be a 10 as we know. It's surely doable here in this second round. And that is a natural 20. That is what it needed. So the Cockatrice now, of course, rolling in with 2d4 with the +1 modifier. So it is going to get some damage on the table. And that is a 4 and a 3. Some very nice damage there with that +1, of course, bringing that up to 8. Now the Imp does indeed have damage resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, so that attack damage total is going to be halved down to 4, but nonetheless, that was a very good hit from the Cockatrice. But now we have the real reason that the Cockatrice goes in for its bite attacks, as of course the Imp may now begin to tread along the path of becoming magically petrified. Now the Imp itself has a trick up its sleeve here, as it does have resistance against magical effects. The Cockatrice's petrify ability, of course, being magical. So it does mean that it will be rolling at advantage at least against this DC of 11. So rolling in for the Imp, it does have a +1 to its Constitution, so it's looking for a 10 or higher on this roll. And a 16 +1 for 17 does mean that it avoids becoming restrained. but that could be too close a call for the Imp, which is not going to enjoy that. But unfortunately, being in melee range and having no ranged attacks, it is going to be forced to continue along with its sting. So as we roll back around to the Imp, it is going to roll in with that attack, hoping that it can put the Cockatrice down once again before that ability ticks off. So rolling in with the sting attack once again with a +5, looking for a 6 or higher, and a 14 +5 for 19 is certainly going to do it. Imp rolling in with that 1d4 +3 points of piercing damage initially, and a maximum roller on the d4 with 4 +3 making 7. Very nice hit there, bringing the Cockatrice down to just 20 hit points. And now, of course, as we are very familiar with at this point, the Cockatrice is now going to be subject to a DC 11 Constitution saving throw, with a failure meaning it takes the full brunt of 3d6 points of poison damage. So Cockatrice rolling in, and with a natural 1, it certainly does not succeed, which does mean that the Imp once again gets the pleasure of rolling in 3d6 full points of poison damage, but it's looking pretty mediocre on that roll, and that is 2 2s and a 1 for 5. The Imp was certainly looking for more out of that poison attack, and it seems like the Cockatrice could be in fact building up a resistance. And with such a lackluster performance, it does mean that the Cockatrice is rolling back in with its bite attack, but with a 4 it is not going to do much, and we roll back around to the Imp, which is looking to improve greatly upon its last rolls, and rolling in with a 13, that is going to be enough to beat the armor class of the Cockatrice on its own, let alone with that +5, bringing that all the way up to an 18. So again, rolling in that 1d4 with 2 +3 for 5. That in itself is as much as the poison damage got dealt last turn, but the Cockatrice once again looking to roll that Constitution saving throw. Again, coming in hot, the DC of 11, Cockatrice looking for a 10 or higher on the dice. And that is a 19 +1 for 20, so this time it will only be taking half of the 3d6 points of damage, but will that resistance be enough? With 2 4s and a 5, totaling 13 points of damage, that is going to be halved, which of course is going to be rounded down to 6 points of damage, leaving the Cockatrice on a mere 4 hit points. It really has to do something special in the coming round, but at least halving that damage has enabled it to stay in for another round. So Cockatrice rolling in with what could potentially be its last bite attack of the season, once again looking for a 10 or higher on the d20. And that is an 18 +3 for 21. It certainly secures the bite here. Rolling in with that 1d4 +1 points of damage, and that is a 1 +1 for 2. The Imp's resistance, of course, bringing that down to a 1, leaving the Imp on just 5 hit points. But now, of course, let's see if that petrification process begins. Imp rolling in on advantage. Again, with its +1 to Constitution, it is looking for a 10 or higher. And with an 18 and a natural 20, the Imp really does not want to succumb to petrification, and it avoids it like a true champion. And without much more left in the tank, the Cockatrice hands its turn back over to the Imp, which of course is going to be coming back in with its sting attack. Rolling in, and with a 9 +5, bringing that all the way up to 14, that is certainly going to hit. The Imp would have to be incredibly unlucky here to not take the Cockatrice out, but with 1d4 +3 rolling in, that is a 1 +3. In fact, it's not possible for it not to have taken it out with that attack. With a 1 on the d4, a +3 points of damage, making for 4, which does bring the Cockatrice down to exactly 0 hit points here in round 2, which does of course mean that the Imp has succeeded here in the semi-final combat and is taking its well-deserved place in the final round against the animated armor. The Cockatrice certainly fought well to make it to this point, but unfortunately it just could not pull through with that bite attack. The Imp's resistance is proving just a little too much for the hideous hybrid. And so without further ado, it is time to say thank you very much to everyone for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're enjoying the season so far. And it would be excellent if you could join me next time when the Imp takes on the animated armor in the very first final round of the Dungeons and Death Battles series.